What's up, everyone? I'm Mackenzie Mitchell, and welcome to Threads.
Join me in this special audio experience of Threads, where we go behind the scenes of the fashion and style of the most significant events in sports and entertainment.
Today, we're in Orlando, Florida, and we're chatting with someone who continues to break barriers. She's a Triple Crown TNA Knockouts champion, a Royal Rumble entrant, and is bridging the gap between TNA and WWE. She's the Juggernaut, Jordynne Grace.
And of course, check us out on YouTube, where you'll find the show in its original intended format. I'm Mackenzie Mitchell, and welcome to Threads.
How are ya?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. We have been in contact about you getting on Threads for now 3-4 months. I messaged you in February.
But that's actually like a really good time, because usually it never happens. So it's good that I'm here now.
I know. Well, that's the thing is I messaged you and said, I'm going to come to Atlanta, and I was going to film a couple episodes in Atlanta. And I said, I know you're booked and busy. I'm booked and busy.
And now we're in the studio.
And
we get to be in the studio.
I know. Now we're here in Orlando. And I had said to you, I think, back then in February, I said, do you have any plans of being in Orlando? And you're like, nope, not at the moment. You had just been there for TNA.
Yep.
So isn't that crazy how it happens?
Isn't it? Right.
Right. Life happens in crazy ways. So thank you so much for taking the time to just be here on Threads and talk about your gear and your look and your evolution. I've known you for how long? We worked in, did we pass in TNA? I think
we overlapped. We overlapped a bit.
Maybe by at least 6 months or something,
like
right?
a year or 6 months, something like that. But it's been it's been 8 years, 7 years, something like that.
Long. We shared a locker room for a hot second, and then here we are. We're reconnecting. I love it.
You saw me before all this happened.
I know, and I love that, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so excited to see this future for you. And you really it's proof that working hard and busting your ass can really put you on the map and really make your dreams come true.
Keep going.
That's exactly it. So I want to kind of get into things. And first and foremost, for someone that's watching this show that doesn't know anything about you, you call yourself the Juggernaut.
Yes.
Explain to me what it means to be the Juggernaut.
Okay, so I've had many monikers over the years, but the most catchy monikers are the ones that are the alliteration, I feel like. So it was like a whole thing where for weeks I was like, what are the J words? What are J adjectives that are really good? And then I found the word the Juggernaut, and I looked up the word. I was like, does it have an actual meaning? And so Juggernaut means an unstoppable force, basically. I was like, I feel like that's me.
That is you.
If it's not me, that's what I want to be.
Sure.
So I pitched it to TNA, and they're like, oh, sure, let's see what happens. And it stuck. So we're here now.
I love it. If we go back and we look at some of your previous gear from the past, you had Hasset across your one piece. What does Hasset mean? Or did you just make up that term?
Okay, so I don't know if it's an official word. I really have no idea.
Right?
But everybody knows the term Haas.
Yes,
that dude's a big Haas. And that's a big, strong dude. And I was like, well, et means the female version of something.
Right.
So I was just like, well, I'll just be the Hasset. And that was whatever. Because it's not an alliteration. It doesn't particularly sound cool when you say the Hasset Jordynne Grace. So I had that for a while, and it was whatever. But I think the Juggernaut, it fits me much better.
100%. Okay. Then let's look and think about the evolution of Jordynne Grace. You were wearing a bright pink one piece that had JG and rhinestones. Do you look back and go who is that girl? Who is that person?
It's been a wild ride. I do look back and I'm like, man. And it's funny. My boss actually said this. He was like, man, looking back at your old photos, why did we ever sign you? And I was like, I knew he was joking, but I was like, yeah, I feel you. I feel like you're right about that, because I don't know. I mean, they must have seen something in me that I didn't see in myself and that no one else did, because here I am now, a completely different person, I feel like.
You've got some vertical stripes in your gear. Do you have a particular meaning in the pattern?
So the original version of this was blue and white, and it was based off the American Gladiator ice.
Okay.
So all we did was just recreate with a different color. So it is American Gladiator themed.
Wow. Okay. And obviously the colors go very similar in the gold.
And it's really cool, because I didn't actually know when I was going to wear this one. And I ended up wearing it on NXT, and I was like, the old NXT colors.
Love that. I'm a black and gold girl, so I love that.
So I was like, this has to be worn there. And actually, so a lot of the jewels and like extra stuff, I used to sew gear in the past, and I just don't have time for it. Yeah, I don't have time for it anymore, but I do customization now. So I'll get the gear. Whenever you add jewels, like from the gear maker, it'll cost more money. So I do it myself now. So all these like jewels here, I added those, and then like this customization.
Love it.
I added that, the NXT TNA.
You did this on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling Vic that I was doing this episode with you, and he was like, that jacket that she wore on NXT was so cool. Like, so across the board, everyone thinks this is awesome.
I thought it was too plain, and then I was just like, well, let me like do something to it. And so I added this, and I added NXT TNA on the back, and I think it's great now. And it's also reversible, which is cool too.
Super cool.
Listen, gear makers are really hit and miss. Like, there's been so many times when I was supposed to have something at one day, and like it didn't come for an extended amount of time. And that's why I just wanted to start making my own gear.
Right.
Because like I don't want to have to rely on someone constantly for that. So if there was a big show and I really came down to the wire, I would be able to make myself something.
Well, you have a history of being a power lifter and in bodybuilding. How much of your look from powerlifting and bodybuilding do you bring into your in-ring look?
When I was wearing the singlet, I feel like that was more of a powerlifting look. But then everybody kept telling me, you need to switch over to the two-piece, which, I've been wearing it for a while now. I'm not particularly sold on it yet, like, because I feel like I was just so much more comfortable in the one piece, like I was snatched. But I can see like this does look cooler and it looks better. I just love the singlet. This particularly, like, it looks powerful to me. It's not very like it's not flimsy. Like the material isn't flimsy. Just like you see a lot of gear that's like really small and dainty on girls now, and it's very like a thin fabric, and they have like the thigh straps and stuff like that. I think it's too sexy for me.
Okay.
Me specifically, I love it on other women. I think it looks great. Just like on me particularly, I don't think that's a look that the Juggernaut would have.
Sure. And off that, we talked about this on camera, and I truly said this, and I mean this. You're a strong-ass, badass bitch, and I love that. How do you make gear that feels comfortable and confident for you as opposed to something like my body type? It's very different, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's hard. Specifically, I have to worry about like keeping everything in, because when I wrestle, I really just like throw myself into everything. So I can't be wearing anything that's like it reveals too much cleavage, because I've done that before, and like I would have to put so much double-sided tape on it. It was just not worth it.
Yeah.
So now I have like stuff like this where it's just full coverage, or stuff like this where it's like I feel so comfortable in it because it just completely covers everything up. But yeah, that's just how I do it.
And there's something to be said for feeling confident in your skin and the way that you're looking on national, international television in front of thousands, millions of fans, if you call it what it is.
It's terrifying.
Truly. Let's go back to when we're talking about your bodybuilding. Your weight fluctuates when you're competing. How are you making your gear different in those different phases of your life as you're changing your weight throughout time?
So it's funny that you mentioned this, because the first set of gear that I had made, the blue set, I actually had to get it altered by a seamstress. So I went in, because I literally lost like 20 pounds in a month from doing the diet and all the cardio. And it was like, I could pull it and like fit an entire arm in there pretty much. So I had to go get it cinched in, which kind of sucks. I can't fit into it anymore.
Right.
Like, because I was like 125 pounds, but it's fine. It's white, so it's dirty anyways, and I'll sell it. But something I've also started to do, and I think I really like, is adding the belt. Because
Right.
that has helped me so much with my weight fluctuations. Every month, I probably like go up or down 15 pounds, honestly. Just like depending on how much cardio I'm doing. I'm 5'2", so like any extra food I eat, it just like immediately sticks to me. Like that's just, what I get for being short, I guess. But the belt is everything to me now.
So the belt actually functions.
Yes, it's a functioning belt. It's a slider, but it can tighten, it can loosen. It's amazing.
So important. It's so key to have versatility and functionality in what you're wearing as well. As we've talked about, your gear has evolved throughout the years. Where do you give the credit?
Other people have told me things over the years. Other people have encouraged me to switch to the two-piece. I was never like confident enough to do it. I actually only started doing it, I would say, it was a match, me versus Masha Slamovich. I think it was in 2022. So I've only been wearing the two-piece for like 2 years. The rest of my career, I would be wearing the singlet. And actually another interesting thing is I stopped wearing fishnets like a couple years ago too. So I know I don't know if any of the viewers out there know, but fishnets are very popular in the wrestling community.
Yes.
And I think now more than ever, it's more of a traditional thing. Like, and it probably makes girls feel more comfortable. But I'm 100% like pro lose the fishnets now. I don't think women need them. I think that men go out there with their legs unshaved. They can do whatever they want. I think women have at least shaved legs and they look much better than the guys. So kill the fishnets.
And I love that you say that, because what I love about you is you're so female empowered, truly. And you're a perfect representation that women can be courageous. They can be strong. They can be beautiful. You can have all of those characteristics and be a female. Is there someone that you look to for inspiration?
My mom is like the main person I look to for inspiration. She's the best. She owns her own business now. Like, I have 3 brothers and sisters, so she raised 4 kids like basically by herself. I remember her like commuting 90 minutes to and from work every day, working for like $7.50 an hour, and now she owns her own business.
Oh,
so
that's
like,
amazing.
I know. So she really like gets me through everything. She's the absolute best. But other than that, outside of wrestling, like people I used to look up to when I was younger and still do, Natalya, incredible, strong woman. Like, man, she does not get the credit that she deserves, honestly.
And I believe that 100% as well.
She's one of those people that is going to retire and then get her flowers when she needs her flowers now. Like, I do not understand why people aren't giving them to her right this second.
Yeah.
And also Beth Phoenix. Those are 2 women that I am obsessed with.
Love both of them. Some people say and argue that Natty should be in the WWE Hall of Fame right now as an active competitor. Do you believe that?
I completely agree with you. Like, and not to like, put anyone else down, but she's done more stuff than some of the other Hall of Famers has, and she's still wrestling. Like, she still has more left in the tank. So I absolutely 100% agree with that. I don't know if it's a rule that you have to be retired to be in the Hall of Fame.
I don't think so, but it should be changed if so, right?
Yeah. So
Natty
she
has
would be
17 years of
oh,
experience, 100%.
I agree with you completely. She 100% should be in the Hall of Fame right now.
Well, speaking of blazing a trail, we have to mention what you're doing right now. The spotlight's on you with WWE and
literally
TNA.
And figuratively.
I mean, truly, right? But you've been chosen for this opportunity to really collaborate the worlds of TNA and WWE. What does that mean to you?
I really, truly think it's been about timing. There's been like a few times when my contract has been coming up, and I've talked to WWE, and I kept staying at TNA because it's where I was comfortable, and I knew that I didn't know how WWE was going to treat me. It's just kind of crazy to me that it wasn't the time then, but it's the time now. And now I get the best of both worlds. So
100%.
Everything works out exactly the way it's supposed to.
And when you came out on NXT for the first time, I didn't know. My husband texted me from the commentary table and said, "You're gonna love this moment." Because
he didn't know either.
He didn't know, right? Oftentimes I do watch, but I give myself limitations. And I tweeted out that I love to see this collaboration happening truly, because we worked at TNA together, and back in the day, it was sometimes frowned upon. Of like you just were a TNA girl. So to see this blend of these 2 worlds, of these corporations coming together, it's truly awesome. And you're the one that's really spearheading it, and it's fantastic
I'm
to see.
very lucky and very grateful that I'm being the one to represent TNA.
Absolutely, and furthermore, Shawn Michaels was the one that, if I'm getting this correctly, that handpicked you for this spot.
I know. Every time I hear that, I feel like I'm in a dream. Like, that's just crazy to me.
Yeah, how does that feel to you now, knowing that?
It's honestly, it's surreal. And I text like my mom and my husband all the time, like, I really can't believe this is happening. Like, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's how I feel.
Wow. And to have someone of the likes of Shawn Michaels really believe in you and believe in your career. I know that you had talked about your former boss in TNA, but what does that mean for him to believe in you in the future of Jordynne Grace?
It's insane. And we actually had a conversation yesterday where he said something similar, and it just like, it makes me so emotional. Like, to see that someone you looked up to and watched as a kid just like believes in you specifically. And I was backstage yesterday, and I was just scrolling on my phone, and whether it's from Triple H's personal like account or whether someone runs it for him, I saw a tweet come up from him, like where he tweeted something like, "If you haven't seen the TNA knockouts before, you're in for a treat." And I was just like, what is even happening right now? Like DX is just like
is your biggest fan. Would you in a million years have dreamed that DX would be a Jordynne
both
Grace?
Of their numbers in my phone. I don't know what's happening.
Oh my gosh, but you deserve it truly. And when you look at the evolution of women's wrestling over the past 2 decades, you have to bring attention to the likes of Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks and what they've done and how they've blazed a trail. But when you look outside of WWE, you're that flag bearer. What does that mean to you?
Honestly, I've never considered myself that person until I got to the Rumble, I think. Like, I never considered it until, like, they reached out and were like, we want to use Jordynne for the Rumble. And honestly, I haven't fully, like, digested it still 6 months later. So, honestly, I don't know how to feel about it. It's unbelievable to me, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. And we'll have to check back in like a year.
Yes,
I feel
check back in a year.
Then you'll go, oh, this is what it is. Okay, understood. Now I can look back and have these memories. In recent memory, I can't remember a time when someone from another promotion was on WWE television without a contract. Are you the first, or?
I'm not the first. There was one. Jeff Jarrett was the first, and I believe it was. People will correct me if I'm wrong because it's the internet, but
the internet will let us know.
I think it was 1998. He was a champion of, I can't remember which promotion, but he was on Raw. And that is the only other, like, instance I know, but I think I'm the first woman to do it.
And on NXT for sure.
Yes.
But to even be competing for a title, I think that in itself is history making, right? Like, and to be a female to do it, there's so many important pieces of this puzzle. I'm going to give you your flowers and your credit because you're too humble to do it yourself. But like,
and it's at the UFC arena, which is crazy because it's like a TNA wrestler versus a WWE wrestler at the UFC arena. Like, I don't know. What is life?
What is life? You mentioned the Royal Rumble. Let's talk about your Royal Rumble look. That was the red, and it had sort of the design that we see here. Was there a particular feeling or emotion or what you wanted that gear to look like overall?
So that gear, actually, I wore it for the first time at TNA's like big comeback show, which was when I won the title versus Trinity at Hard to Kill. And I've actually had like several new sets that I could have worn for the Rumble, but I wanted to wear that because just literally like the week before I had won the title, and also it was the TNA colors. So I feel like if I was going to go out there with the TNA belt, like if people were going to recognize me, and I feel like a lot of people watched that match with Trinity, so a lot of WWE fans watched that match, and so they would recognize me immediately if they saw that gear and the title and everything. So that's why I chose that specific one. I actually think I probably had like all these sets of gear, but I just wanted to wear something that was recognizable and to represent TNA.
So when this comes out, Battleground will have already happened.
Yes.
So tell me about your Battleground gear. We don't have it here today, right?
I brought this. So we're in Orlando right now, obviously. I brought this to wear at Battleground. The gear maker that I use made this exact same thing in a different color, and she's making me a jacket for Battleground. And what I didn't specify was which color she should make it in. So she sent me a picture, and it was of the one that's at my house still. Depending on how the jacket fits, like this is my first time getting a jacket made by her, and I pray that it fits well, but I'll either wear this with no jacket, or my husband is going to be flying from our house to Vegas for the show, so he'll be bringing that other gear with him, so I'll be wearing the jacket and other gear. So I don't know yet.
So it's a guess.
You guys know by now.
So it's a toss. It will be a toss up at this point.
But it's pretty much the exact same design. Like the boots are the same. I think it's just in like, it's more white. It's like more like championship white, I think.
So how did you come up with this design then?
This is the same design as the one I wore at the Rumble and Hard to Kill. The only difference is like this, I love this material because the white on most materials, if it's cotton or like a cloth material, my spray tan comes off right away. I can wear it one time and no other time, but this is stain resistant. So in the back of it will obviously be bright orange because it's like a cloth material, but this wipes off. So that's that.
And that's so interesting that you say that because there's so many details and the intricacy that goes into creating the gear. And you may not have an answer to this, but we've seen the evolution of Jordynne Grace from the one piece, the glow-in-the-dark gear, which we have to get to right after this.
That is like the only other time, and that was it's like my first 3 matches, I wore that glow-in-the-dark gear. It was the only other 2 piece I had.
Should you bring the glow-in-the-dark gear back for like a little homage?
Oh, no. No. Oh, God. First of all, Trinity wears like the glow-in-the-dark stuff.
Fair.
So it's a little like, kind of stepping on her a little bit, so I wouldn't do that. And also, it was just so ugly. It was like when you go into like a roller skating rink or something, it was like that floor. Like, that's what it looked like.
And why did you choose that to begin with?
Well, I was 14, to be honest, and I walked into a fabric store and was like, oh, this looks cool. And I just found like a seamstress on Craigslist who sewed in normal clothing, and I was like, can you make some leggings and a top out of it? And she did, so that's how that happens.
When you think about that and how far you've come with the glow-in-the-dark gear, the one pieces, now your two piece sets of gear, do you have an idea of what the future of Jordynne Grace looks like?
I want my jackets especially to look more elaborate. Like, the Japanese wrestlers, they have like the most gorgeous jackets, like so beautiful. I would love to have something like that. Like, this is cool, but like those jackets, they make you feel like you're invincible. I feel like that's how I'd feel coming out in it. And they always look so awesome in pictures, so like flowing and majestic. So I would love to have something like that made. I just don't want to like ever rip someone off, so I had to think of something completely original before I do it. So have you know who Tanahashi is?
Yes.
Okay, his jackets are like the most amazing jackets that you've ever seen. They just like, my only problem is this big collar. I feel like I need my peripheral vision, so I'm not 100% sure what I love the shoulder pad idea, like something like that, because I always want to like show off my shoulders more. Like, it has to be cut off sleeves. Like, I feel like that's my whole thing. Is like, people look at me and are like, oh dang, she's short, but at least she's like built like a tank. So I have to show off my arms.
Yeah, you gotta accentuate your best features,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
We haven't talked about your boots. Can I grab your boots?
Those I haven't even worn yet.
You haven't worn. I absolutely love these. I think they're so cool. The belt buckles, everything about them. Tell me about the design that's particular to you in these boots.
So honestly, I just wanted something these are like some older boots, but these are more of a plain one. They still have the straps on them, but I just wanted something different. I used to wear like the short boots, and this is like, to me, it's what a wrestler's boot should look like. Something like this. I don't like the shooters. Like, I think it's cool for specific people who like, throw kicks and stuff and wear the kick pads over them. But for me, who doesn't throw any kicks or do any flips, just like a wrestler, quote unquote, like, this is the look that I want to have. And like, some of the best wrestlers in the world have worn boots that are similar to this. So, and I love how, what's the word? Firm it is. Like, I feel like wearing something other than a boot when you're wrestling leaves you more prone to injury, like especially ankle injuries. I just feel like, I wear 2 pairs of socks and then the boot, and so I feel like my ankle is very sturdy.
And I feel like wrestling boots are very subjective, obviously. Like, everyone has their own opinion of how they're able to move in the ring, but there's so much credit to finding a good pair of wrestling boots that feel good to you.
Yes. And I don't know if fans know this or not, but wrestlers if they wear boots, they have to get them custom made. So you have to go to a boot maker, and you have to give them all your measurements, measure yourself, and sometimes you can never get your boots, because that's happened to a few wrestlers before. Like, they just send off their money, and a lot of these boot makers, they prioritize the bigger stars. So if you are now kind of like low level indie person, you might not get your boots for a couple years if there's like a lot of different things happening.
Wow, that's wild to think about.
So, what's really funny actually is this has happened, I think, twice now. It happened after the Rumble, and it happened last night, where I had reached out to like a popular gear maker who, is very popular with the WWE wrestlers. They've been making their gear, like, they mostly make WWE people's gear, and I messaged them. They wouldn't get back to me for months, and then all of a sudden I showed up for the Royal Rumble or last night, and they messaged me back. So it's just funny how like your name value, they want to make your stuff more.
That's very interesting to think about, and I would never know that. I don't think that anybody would know that unless they're a professional wrestler or they're aspiring to be in the business. When you think about what you've done in TNA, you're a Triple Crown TNA Women's Champion. What is your favorite look from your title matches?
The first time I won it, I was still wearing the one piece, and I didn't even like that one piece, so I won't pick that one. It's definitely got to be my Hard to Kill gear, because it's also the Royal Rumble gear. Someone, like, so many people have offered to buy that gear, and I feel like that's one I'm just never going to get rid of, because it's two, like, really important moments.
Sentimental.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I'll keep that one forever.
Yeah.
And also, something I started doing, and I recommend that all wrestlers do this, especially if you sell your gears, I started having my opponents, whoever I would wrestle in the gear, sign, like, the inside of it.
Smart.
So they would be worth more when you actually do sell them, if you do.
Have you ever sold something and then you're like, dang, I wish I would have kept
My
that?
first set of gear, yep.
Really? Was that the glow-in-the-dark gear?
Yep.
It's gone.
Yep, it's gone. And my all-in gear.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I sold both of them, and it's cool because the guy who like bought the all-in gear, he has like a frame for it, and it's like he sent it to me. It's a really nice setup, but I'm just like, man, I shouldn't have sold it. I should have kept it.
And maybe one day you can negotiate.
Yeah,
you
get it back.
You can get it back. Say, hey, I've done this and this and this. We'll swap out for one that you just didn't like, or that was stained or had makeup or whatever. So
those special ones you definitely regret, but when you're coming up, like, you don't have a lot of money, so you feel like you gotta sell stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. There's no one that Jordynne Grace can't wrestle. When we look at across the board, TNA, Ring of Honor, AEW, WWE, female, male, when you're in the ring, is there a certain opponent that you haven't wrestled yet that you would love to wrestle?
Oh, there's so many people that I haven't wrestled that I'd love to wrestle. I had a brief moment with her in the Rumble, but I'd love to wrestle Bianca.
Okay.
I think that she's extremely talented, very athletic, and I feel like I'm very athletic too, so I feel like we could put on, a really good match, a really good show. Natalya, obviously. Mm-hmm. Beth Phoenix, if she ever feels like coming out of retirement, like, I better be the first person on her list. But yeah, just all the strong women. Jade, like, I feel like those matches are amazing. Ivy Nile, I feel like we'd have a great match. I especially think so because she's kind of the same character as me. She's a strong person, but she's a little bit smaller than me. She's probably like 15 pounds smaller, so I feel like that would be a good dynamic. It's a lot of people in WWE that I haven't wrestled because I wrestled a lot of people in the Indies already and in TNA, so most of the people I want to wrestle are in WWE.
Well, and you wrestled guys, males as well. You wrestled Matt Cardona.
Yeah, in his first intergender match. Isn't that weird?
And how was that experience?
It was great. Like, honestly, it was crazy how much like chemistry we had in the ring, and it's very like hit or miss if you have that with someone. And both with him and his wife Chelsea, like, I feel like I have great in-ring chemistry with both of them. So he's just an awesome wrestler. He was down for anything. Like, he wasn't like, oh, I'm not gonna let you slam me because you're a girl. Like, he was great.
When you were wrestling a female versus a male, is there a different mentality that you have in your skill set, in your thought process, in your gear, and everything across the board?
For sure. Like, and also it depends on the person, because I'm not gonna wrestle someone like, let me just use like Marco Stunt as an example. Like, I'm not gonna wrestle Marco Stunt the same way that I wrestled Nia Jax. Obviously he's a smaller male and she's a bigger female, but I'm not gonna do my same mentality that I normally do for the male matches and the female matches with them, because it doesn't make any sense at all. So just like that. And I also, more recently, I've been putting into practice like understanding that a lot of guys just aren't comfortable with intergender wrestling, and they also don't want to speak up about it because there's a stigma about not liking it. But I can understand like not wanting to wrestle. I can understand not wanting to wrestle a woman. Like, I don't have to agree with it, but I can understand it. So like, I'll just use an example. Like, recently I wrestled like Khan, who used to be at AEW, and I know that I'm so much smaller than him, and obviously they want to have a big moment where I slam him. So I made sure to be like, listen, like, we do not have to do this. Like, I'm completely fine with not doing it. But luckily he's like a super cool guy, so he was fine with it. But I don't ever want to like make someone feel like they're gonna look bad in front of people. Like, I don't want to do that.
But I don't think that would be you to begin with. I think that that's someone else's opinion on the other side as well. And like I've mentioned, I love seeing what you're doing for women, and to see this evolution.
I'm just trying to keep it going.
And to think, like, truly, I talked to Mickie James about this, to think about when we look at the likes of Tori Wilson and Barbie Blank and Mickie, and like, that women were such in a space years ago that they didn't know what they were. They were valets, they were managers, they were doing a bikini contest, to now where women are today, and what you're being able to prove on a weekly basis on television for women, that we can have it all. It's cliche to say, but I love that.
I mean, all the women that have opened doors before us, we just have to be brave enough to walk through those doors and continue down the hall. So I feel like that's what women like me and, women like Deonna Purrazzo, just like Bianca Belair, we have to just keep going no matter what.
It's amazing to see. Well, I'm excited for the future of Jordynne Grace. I am excited to see what's next and what you've got going on.
Me too. I really don't know what's going to happen.
Sky's the limit for you, girl. Honestly, like, this is only the beginning, and I'm just so excited to watch this journey for you and this history that you're really making on your own.
Thank you.
So, of course, and thank you for, again, taking the time. It's been so fun to have you here on Threads. Yay, thank you.